together every year or so at Georgetown. It's a show by, it's called GEMA, G-E-M-A. It's the Georgetown Entertainment Media Alliance, and we put on a show. It's always fun to get together with those people. But
it'd be great if you
I mean,
Go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, stop me.
I stopped only for the fact that you're such a talent and so unique that it'd be great if you came into the studio sometime with Eddie Money and jammed together.
Good old Eddie. Yeah, Eddie was on the same label as I when I started out, and he was kind of like a big brother for me for a while, and so it was nice. And I've always been happy for his success through the years, too.
Yeah, it'd be nice for you to play on a live radio show. We can have Brad Willinger, my studio producer, here this evening. Oh, yeah, he goes like to every concert that you've been in and every other rock and roll concert for the last 25 years. In fact, I believe that the first concert that you saw was what, by the way? America, back in 1977 to be exact. So we've got great fans of yours right here in the live studio.
Well, it's going to be one of the first things I do when I come back to town, which hopefully will be not too long from now. I get to go many places. I'm in Atlanta right now. I'm doing this thing called the Yacht Rock Festival, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the genre called yacht rock, but it's been made popular by Jimmy Fallon and some other people. If you Wikipedia it, you'll find out lots of weird things about the yacht rock genre, but there's a band out of Atlanta called the Yacht Rock Review, and they hooked up with me a few years ago, and I sit in with them. Yacht rock basically is the soft rock from the mid-'70s to the mid-'80s, and so, they recreate it. They do it so well. It's this great band, and they all wear the, appropriate late 70s garb with the kind of polyester suits with the flowered shirts and white collars and aviator glasses, and it's a wonderful experience. I think actually they do many of these songs better than the originals myself, but it's only me.
Which hotel are you staying at in Atlanta? You're in Atlanta, you said, right?
Yeah, I'm staying at this kind of boutique hotel that they put me up in called the Artmore Hotel, which is a very, very nice place here. I just got in this afternoon. But the show is tomorrow night, and also on the bill, this is kind of their gala yearly show. I did this last year with them, and this year they have myself and Gary Wright, the old Dreamweaver, Robbie Dupree, Holy,
Hot Rod Arts, Brooklyn Girls,
Peter Beckett from Player, Baby Come Back, and the band's called Starbuck. Anyway, there's a band that
Moonlight Feels Right by Starbuck.
That's the one. Yeah, they've gotten back together for this show. So it's going to be a gala night tomorrow night here in Piedmont Park in downtown Atlanta.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Tell little Robbie Dupree. I remember the first time I met Robbie Dupree was at the Joyous Lake in Woodstock, New York in 1980. After that, it was a success story ever since because Robbie was on a show that I produced years ago at radio station WPLJ, at the time, New York's best rock, believe it or not.
Of course. Yeah, it was Ackerley.
Jim Kerr, Tony Fick, Pat St. John, Valerie Smallville, Paul Miller, and who else? Mark Goodman, Mark Coppola, and Dave Charity, and Bob Maroney. How's that for the lineup?
You got it, yeah. Well, Zachary, of course, had that great show on Channel 9 when we were growing up. Maybe you're too young to remember this, but he did the horror movies on Channel 9 on Friday night. And I wanted to impersonate him on Halloween when I was about, 12 or 13 years old. And my mother called the station to ask where, we could get a wig that looked like Zachary. And actually, Zachary got on the phone and said, "Madam, that is my own hair."
I'm sure we're going to get up to Jim Petrecca and Bob O'Brien. We'll have John Zachary. In fact, Bob knows John very well. We're going to have him here for Halloween, right, Bobby?
Absolutely. Cannot wait.
I love him. He's great. He sent me a Transylvania passport, which is one of his swag at the time. So, but yeah. So I grew up, of course, in Queens. I was in Stills, and then I went to high school in Manhattan at Loyola School, and the band that I started out in high school is called the Malibooz, Malibooz, so it wouldn't sound like Malibus when people looked at it. And we played surf music. We played at the World's Fair in 1965. And when I had my success, we were able to do some recording for Rhino Records. We did an album. This was like 1980, I guess. And since then, we've done about 4 or 5 CDs. And then in 2 weeks, I'll be joining the Malibooz on the West Coast, because we continue to do it we keep it going every year, get together once or twice. And we're opening for Dick Dale and the Deltones at the Malibu Inn on August 31st. So that's going to be a legendary show.
How about in New York? Anything with Robbie Dupree up in Woodstock or Bethel, New York, or anything up here?
We're trying to do that. There's a guy who is kind of managing me, and I don't know if you know Pat Morgan or not. But
I know of him, sure.
Yeah, Pat's been helping me out. He in fact, helped me get this new CD that's now up on iTunes. I have a new CD called Raw Elegant. It's on the Spectra label. And we're still waiting for the hard copies, but you can download it on iTunes. And Pat has been trying to put me together with Robbie for about a year or so now, so hopefully that'll happen. Of course, I'll see him tomorrow. I might see him tonight, actually. So looking forward to that. And so things are good. And, I'm doing as much music as possible. Still writing, still performing as much as possible. So keeps you young.
Well, it certainly does, and this live show keeps us young and moving, too. More importantly, we're not only just on for this 1 hour, we're on 5 nights a week here at wpat, and also several other radio stations as well. So Bob O'Brien would like to coordinate some of the other shows that we do, or maybe have you live here when you come to New York sometime.
That would be great. I would love to do that. And, you know how to get in touch with me, huh? So let's stay in touch, and let's try and do that.
Now, when I come to Atlanta, I always get lost on the freeway. I don't know about your experiences with that freeway over there. It's quite unique. Every time I go around it, I end up in Birmingham.
Well, the thing is, they drive like maniacs down here, and you have to be in a certain lane, and all of a sudden the lane has passed you, and you're down Mobile, It's like you got to turn around, and it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty big city now. I remember coming here when my first few records came out, and you did a bunch of tours back then with Hart and Foreigner and Kansas, and did some shows with the Beach Boys, did some shows with Fleetwood Mac. It was real fun.
So if I could organize a show at the Museum of Radio and Television in New York City, you could get a hold of Fleetwood Mac and Foreigner and whoever else it could be. We could do like a whole jamming session there and have all the radio stations in New York come there and do a live broadcast and have all your fans there as well.
Let's do it. Sounds like a band again.
Or as Dan Ingram would say, let's do it to it. Remember Dan?
I remember him well. You were mentioning that you misspoke ABC earlier, and the thrill for me was when Dan Ingram played Nine Inch Steel, because I grew up listening to Dan Ingram.
Oh, yes, Kimosabe. It is Reagan here on WABC, right?
Yeah. Dan Ingram was the man. He was great, and Murray Decay was great too, and those guys.
And you're great too. And Robert Dupree's great. And I remember John Wall and Larry Hoffman, may he rest in, Lance Hoffman, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, Larry's the one who's resting.
Larry, yes. Okay. Yeah. And this is Charlie is doing very well.
Yeah, well, he's doing better than his brother anyway. No. But I actually did a show with those guys in Jackson, Tennessee about 2 months ago. So, yes, it's been a hard year for my contemporaries, for my peers. Between them, Bob Welsh and Levon, and, so I want to play as much music as possible. One of the other things I do, I'm kind of an all-purpose creative person. I'm a painter. I was an art major at Georgetown. I've written 3 or 4 screenplays. In fact, here's a funny thing. There's a writer named Jeffrey Thomas. Now, Jeffrey Thomas writes in the science fiction horror genre, and he got in touch with me about using some lyrics of mine for one of his upcoming stories that he was writing. And I said, yeah, sure, use it. It was that song, same song, Tunnel of Love, as a matter of fact. And then he came back and he said, well, would you like to be a character in the story? And I said, yeah, by all means. So he wrote this story called Waltered States, in which there's interdimensional singing duo that is covering one of my songs, and I go to their videotaping of this song, and I get into this big argument with this cantankerous little dwarf-like dummy. It's really hard to explain without giving you the whole thing, but anyway, and then I've actually recently adapted one of his stories, or one of his books actually, called Health Agents, into a screenplay, and we're trying to see what we can do with that. So, you know, you got to be creative, and that's really what life is all about, as far as I'm concerned.
And when I'm in Atlanta, I'll be listening to Walter Egan. Everybody should go to your website, and when everybody's in Atlanta, they should go to a radio station that Brad knows very well, Z93, WZGZ, the dollar bill game station of Atlanta, Georgia. I know we've had people listening to from Z93, but I thought Brad would enjoy that. Thanks, Walter, very much.
Well, yeah. Well, of course, if they're looking for me, though, they have to come to Nashville, because I'm only here for the weekend. I am living outside of Nashville these days. I mentioned that to you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, by the way, my name is Egan, not Egan.
I'm getting all the names in the...
I'm sorry, I was listening to your conversation with Beverly. I had to throw that in there.
I like the song Walter Egan along with Egan, and now that this is being YouTubed, I got Egan and Egan, and I got the right Hopkins correct, right? Who did what, when, or where, right?
Yeah.
Have a lovely night, Walter Egan and Egan and all the great people of your generation and people of your life, and I hope all your great fans are listening to you. And I got a song for you.